Hi and welcome back to the Craft Angles YouTube channel. I'm Nandini here with some fresh techniques using the Ethnic Border stamp set. I'm showing you 3 ways to use your border stamps to create birthday cards today. So let's get started. We are using the beautiful Ethnic Border stamp set today, which has 3 border stamps in a very traditional Indian style. I pulled out the birthday boy and birthday girl stamp sets for the sentiments. These are my absolute go-to sets for all birthday cards. I also have my favorite Craft Angles vertical folding A2 card bases. At 250 GSM, these card bases along with their matching envelopes are a boon to card makers like me. And finally, I have some white card panels for my stamping. To begin, I want to decide the placement of my sentiment. I decided to place it at a slant, so I am drawing 2 parallel lines with a pencil and a scale. I am using the It's Your Birthday sentiment from the Stamp Girl set and stamping it with black ink. Since I am using my stamp positioner, it is easy for me to double stamp and get a nice dark crisp image. I decided to stamp the borders in rainbow order. The sentiment will be on the lightest color, which is yellow. So I started with yellow and placed the border stamp over the sentiment. I am using dye inks today, but you can use any inks for your stamping. I cleaned the stamp with a damp cloth before moving it to the next color. I always have a piece of plastic handy which covers the paper while I reposition my stamps. This is very useful to ensure that no residual ink stains my card base. The next color is orange. I also wrote down the order of colors as I didn't want to get it wrong, though there are no rules really in this type of stamping. I will continue to stamp with red, violet and indigo inks, moving the stamp after each color. Moving down, I stamped green after yellow and finally blue. The next card is like the first one. The orientation of the sentiment is straight, so I am drawing 2 parallel lines with the pencil. For the stamping, I decided to get an ombre effect. I used 2 inks, violet and purple for the stamping. Since I have single shades for both colors, I used the stamp positioner to my advantage. I did not remove the stamp for the second line. I simply moved the card base along one side till it was in the correct position. The positioner allows us to stamp several times in the same spot. So I just re-inked the stamp 4 to 5 times and stamped repeatedly. With each re-inking, the color becomes darker. This is a great way to stretch your ink pads and get different shades of the same color. This technique also comes in very handy when using layering stamps. For the last card, I wanted to try the floating die cuts technique. To begin, I stamped the border 4 times on a piece of white cardstock and then heat embossed the same with metallic copper embossing powder. I cut the borders apart and colored them with red, orange, pink and yellow inks. I took a piece of clear acetate and glued the borders with liquid glue, ensuring small gaps between each strip. These gaps are important as they give a floating effect to the card. Once the glue had dried, I cut the whole thing into a circle. The sentiment was stamped directly with black ink on the card base under the floating element. To pop up the borders, I added small strips of mount board under each border. Assembling the other two cards was super simple. Since the stamp panels looked so busy, the card design had to be very basic. I simply trimmed the panels down and glued them to the card bases popped up on pieces of mount board. Today's techniques are great for mass production as once the stamp positioner is set, you can just churn out multiple cards in a very short time. Which of these techniques have you tried before? Do you have any stamps in your stash you can use for these techniques? Please do let me know in the comments below. Are there any card making techniques you want me to show? I look forward to hearing from you. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon before you go. We post new videos all the time. Bye and take care.